Welcome to the May 21st, 2019 episode of Reactive Consciousness, our in-depth podcast about what happened this week in our lives. I'm your host, vysethebold, and this is...
Lotus Prince. And Old Man Stompy.
Old Man Stompy.
And I'm Old Man Stompy. Whoa, hi there, Old Man Stompy. Hi, Lotus Prince. 4 Heroes of Light is my favorite game. That doesn't sound right, Old Man Stompy.
All of you can't see this, but Lotus is putting on a sock puppet show for my enjoyment. Or really his own, really.
The funny thing is, I don't have my webcam on, so you couldn't see that, but I actually was doing the hand opening and closing as though I was doing... You couldn't even see it.
Lotus, I was trying to joke, not actually accuse you.
We do not joke
even
here.
though that's what was going on.
This is not a place for joking. Or for levity.
Certainly not for brevity, I can tell you that.
That's the soul of wit, so they said 500 years ago.
What does white anything have to do with it?
White?
Wit is the German word for white. Anyway.
Oh, nicely done. Blanco is a Spanish word for white.
You would think with your fooling knowledge,
yeah, right.
You would know what I'm talking about.
Sorry, I guess you fooled me.
Oh man. I went to a takeout place today, and they called my name, and I was like, "What did they say?" Like, I have a very common name. It's Andrew.
Oh, you just the first? I thought I was gonna play with the last name. The first name?
They said, "Ruff, ruff," and I was like,
"Bless you."
What? And they're like, "Ruff, ruff," and then they said what the order was, and I was like, okay. And then I look at the the receipt, and the guy who had taken my order put my name as Amfru. I was like, what the you got Andrew wrong?
And then somebody shoves you aside. Hey, that's my order. Thank you, Mr. Amfru.
I have two questions. How did you get Andrew wrong? That's number one. Number two, how did you think Amfru was for real?
No, what? No, like I said, a guy named Amfru pushes you aside and says, "Hey, don't touch my order." It's just like The Simpsons. Sorry, my son is also named Bort.
Bort.
Are you talking to me? Oh, no.
Yeah, can I have some more of that sausage?
We are out of Bort license plates.
But yeah, it was pretty goofy. But anyway, we have some pretty cool announcements. We have a little bit of stupid fan drama at the end here, but
honestly, we should probably do the beginning just because it's Game of Thrones and everything's a spoiler, and I'm not going to spoil stuff.
Look, Lotus, they're not supposed to know how we make the sausage. Recipe is a secret.
It's a recipe for disaster?
Okay. Fair enough. All right. So we'll go into this. Robert Pattinson got chosen as the new Batman.
And he's been a perfectly good actor in like 100 movies, but nobody's seen them because they're all indie, so they're just bitching about Twilight, which is like decade old.
I mean, most of the people complaining about it are people that made fun of girls for liking their favorite book, way back when, anyway, and didn't read the book to begin with, or the movie to begin with.
But this is just like complaining about Ben Affleck being Batman, because remember 15-20 years ago when he was in Daredevil, which I didn't much care for? It's like, shut the fuck up.
But here's the thing, he wasn't a bad Daredevil, number one.
No, he really wasn't.
The movie was bad, but he wasn't a bad Daredevil. That's number one.
Even then, I kind of like the movie. It's not
not terrible. Yeah. It's just okay,
yeah, But the thing
it's
with
not on the level of Elektra.
Yeah, that is true. But the thing with Robert Pattinson, though, is that, like, he was Cedric Diggory in the Harry Potter movies, and as for the Twilight movies, it is no secret that, like, every single actor in that movie openly hated just doing it.
Well, not only that, but it was also a very cheap production on purpose. Like, they made the movie super cheap so they can maximize profits off of a fad, which is what happened. Like, they openly admit that movie was like a low budget movie, despite its popularity and probably could have commanded a much bigger budget.
Yeah, they really didn't need, like, especially for the first movie, it was not a special effect intensive movie. Like, it could have been low budget. Like, there wasn't that much that they had to do effects for.
It's mostly the quality of the filming and stuff like that drags it down. But I mean,
And the Muse
I've only
baseball scene.
seen portions of these movies. They're not for me, but I also recognize it. Also, I'm not gonna blame the actors that are in the movie.
Well, no, again,
I mean, come
like
on.
Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson both again at this point obviously hated being there. But it's
Also,
like,
they
but
were
I'm getting paid like $1
teenagers.
bajillion. Like, fuck
Also,
it.
they were teenagers. They're in their 20s now, and that's a long time to like get some chops.
Yeah, I actually have seen the first Twilight movie on Riff Tracks, and boy oh boy, nothing happens the entire movie except for like the very end. It was bored as shit, but like you said though, it's not for me. There's like a scene where they're trying to close on the mall. Obviously, I'm not the target audience for that. But man, for a vampire werewolf love story, nothing fucking happens in that movie.
I mean, I guess my feeling always with these things is I just wait for the actual thing to come out to see if it's good. I don't have a knee-jerk reaction to anything like this unless it's like, whoa, that's weird. But like, I didn't have a whoa, that's weird reaction to him being cast as Batman. I mean, this is just it's in the same line as Andrew Garfield being Spider-Man, and he wasn't a bad Spider-Man.
Well, no, the thing is, like, what pisses me off about the whiny reactions to this is that nobody seems to have a memory of like 10 minutes ago. Like I said, everybody complained about Ben Affleck being Batman, and he was like really good in those shitty movies. Everybody complained about the Brokeback Mountain guy being the Joker, and he's like just below Mark Hamill as like the most iconic Joker that's ever been. Everybody complained about
Toon Link.
No, I'm talking about just. I mean, I did too, and I still do for that matter. But like everybody complained about Mr. Mom playing Batman. Michael Keaton Batman, and he's like one of people's favorite Batman. Again, like outside of like Kevin Conroy. Like it's like maybe shut the fuck up. Like you've been wrong every damn time.
Do you remember when everybody complained about George Reeves as Superman? That was terrible.
What?
George Reeves was the original Superman in like the black and white.
Oh, the
serials.
black and white. Jeez. Wow.
Yeah, even before Christopher Reeves.
That's like the guy who played Batman before the Adam West Batman, like the black and white Batman serials in the movie theaters.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I forgot the guy's name, which is kind of a shame too. But like, okay.
They're even less notable than the Superman ones, believe it or not. So he has like floppy Batman ears in it.
Oh,
like,
nice.
They're bad.
He's got floppy Batman ears.
He drives like an Oldsmobile, just like a normal car.
Oh, that's amazing. So he's got floppy Batman ears. Adam West has eyebrows, and Val Kilmer has nipples. Or no, or was it George Clooney?
They both do.
Oh, because they're both Schumacher. Okay.
Yeah. Schumacher loves male nipples.
I guess.
Apparently, he didn't put nipples on the Batgirl costume.
Huh. It really makes you think. I just
Not
love
really.
though. I just love though. It's not a tight shirt. It's like the hard plastic suit like had them on it.
It's really cold. Well,
I mean, he was fighting Mr. Freeze.
In the case of Batman and Robin, you can make the
Cool
argument.
Party. That's still my favorite.
The Ice Age.
The Cool Party is easily my favorite because like that's so weak. Like that is by far the weakest one. Like
it would have been better if it was Ice to Meet You.
Yeah, like
really.
Chill out right before he shoots you with his freeze gun. Okay, but like just showing up and saying like waving Cool Party. Like, oh dude, come on. that just cracks me up.
No, that's just ugh. All right, well, I'm not gonna say much on this because I'm sure there's plenty of people that haven't seen it, or I guess there are plenty of people that have probably been spoiled already too. But I don't want to be a part of it. I watched the last episode of Game of Thrones. I know you did.
Oh, even though you haven't seen like the other 5 or 6 like seasons after season 1.
Hear my rationale, and you'll agree. Okay, I read the first book, so at least I know how things were set up, right?
That was season 1, yeah.
Okay, yeah, but I read the first book before season 1 even began, right?
Sure.
So okay.
So did I, actually.
So you know that I know the setup for everything at least, right?
Yeah.
And the first book
end
is
of
really
season
important.
1 is what kicked off pretty much the entire conflict of the rest of the series.
well, that's what the first season does. But anyway,
Yeah.
never mind all that. Here's my feeling. I know I was going to be fucking spoiled by the internet and by people
Twitter
talking
was just
at work.
live tweeting everything.
So why not just watch it with everybody? Because I was going to be spoiled anyway.
I disagree with that rationale.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Doesn't that make sense though? Like, come on. I mean,
well, yeah. Otherwise, you would just get like filtered Twitter posts and memes and shit.
I'm gonna find out what happened. So why not just ask a couple questions of my girlfriend who's been watching it the whole time, and really all of the stuff that was happening, like I wasn't out of left field from somebody who read the first book.
Yeah, it was easy enough to understand, and there weren't like a bunch of weird characters you've never seen before or whatever. Like it's pretty much a lot of season 8 was characters you already knew.
So, having said that, I just want to hear what your reaction to it was.
Well,
what did you think?
There were a lot of complaints about the previous week's episode, episode 5 of 6 of the final season, and I'm not going to go into why.
Which I had no problem with it.
I actually did, but I'm not going to go into that.
Okay.
So episode, like, the thing with episode 6 is, this is a weird comparison to make, but I'm going to explain it. It's kind of like how I felt about Silent Hill Revelation, the movie, after the first Silent Hill movie. Like, the first Silent Hill movie, I was pissed off the Pyramid Head was in it, because it's not a fucking Silent Hill 2 movie. But when I saw Pyramid Head in Revelation, it's like, he shouldn't be here, but this is a sequel to the other movie, so I can't... Yeah. I would look foolish to complain twice, you know? So, like Game of Thrones, where it went from the last episode, it's like, well, okay. You know, there were definitely some things that I felt were not even unresolved, just not really addressed, although there was at least one thing that I felt wasn't really resolved. But, like, they tried to wrap it up as best they could with only a 6-episode final season in an hour and a half for, like, all the characters they were bouncing back and forth with. I felt that some decisions they made were like, okay, I guess, but it wasn't enraging like a lot of people on the internet would have you believe. I thought it was just like, okay.
I think it was a good but not great ending, and I kind of think it's cool that they went with an unexpected choice, which with how they ended it.
Yeah, I can get behind that.
Because just because you want something to happen doesn't mean it's good or it should.
Well, that's the thing. That there are certain cases where it's like, oh, don't you think that this character should have done that? And everybody's been thinking it, and it's just like, well, if that were to happen, then it would be like, see, that thing you knew would happen happened. Then it's like I'm not talking about how you should subvert expectations, because sometimes doing it just to subvert expectations ends up with really stupid results. But at the same time, like, it just makes me think of, like, this is something that's, like, internet reviewer specific, because I don't think it really happens in movies. Maybe it'll happen on TV shows, but for, like, a comedy. If someone does a comedy style discussion about something, and there's, like, a really low-hanging fruit joke, and they don't do it, and you're sitting on your couch going, "Oh man, they could have done that joke." But it's like, but
where are they going to get to the fireworks factory?
No, that's not what I'm talking about. Like, it's like, why didn't they do this joke? It's like, you already thought of it, so even if they had done it, would you really have laughed? It was already in your head the whole time. So it's like, that would have been just like, yes, there it is, check it off. It's not like, haha, you got me with that brilliant wit, you know? So it's like, if you were already just waiting for it to happen just so it could kind of happen, that just feels kind of like, well, there it is. So I'm kind of glad they didn't go with the, again, not to subvert expectations, but not to go with, like, the overly predictable route.
Yeah. Well, I think they ended a lot happier than I ever thought it would. And I don't think the books will end happy.
Yeah, I was actually going to say, like, the book series has been consistently miserable. Like, the beginning of book 1 was by far as good as it got.
Yeah.
Like, everything went shittier and shittier, and then Ramsay Bolton was introduced in book 5, and you're like, Jesus fucking Christ, like, where do you go from here? So, like, I don't know how the books are going to end, but, like, it's just shittier and shittier.
Here's my thought on it. The White Walkers will be a much bigger presence at the end of the book. End of the book series.
Honestly, you know what threw me is, like, the White Walkers. Obviously, the show's been building up to them for a long time, so like,
and they were magicked away.
There was a White Walkers episode, but what kind of bugged me is, you know how they always say winter is coming, winter is coming.
Yeah.
Winter never came.
Yeah. Well,
it didn't.
There was snow in the last episode.
No, but that really doesn't matter though. This is the show didn't really touch this very much, so I'll give a little leeway for that one. But in the books, like, Winterfell is always snowy, and like there was talk of like foreigners showing up, and they're like, oh man, fucking freezing here. Now I know what winter is like. And the people of Winterfell is like,
even in the first book, yeah.
No, but what I'm talking about though is that then the people in Winterfell will be like, oh no, this is the
spring.
This is the kiss of spring. Real winter is the worst thing ever, and we haven't had one in like over a decade, and you do not want winter. So like, winter never came in the show. I mean, I know the White Walkers are supposed to represent like the cold undead, but like actual season hardcore winter never came. And book 6 is called The Winds of Winter. That shit's gonna be ridiculous when that happens. But in the
maybe
show,
it's just symbolism, Lotus. Maybe it's just symbolism.
It could be, but I doubt it. But like, but in the show though, they just kind of never did. It was like one rough night. It's like, oh well.
Nah, I gotcha. I'm feeling the same way. Winter is coming didn't get its payoff.
Yeah, like again, I know, like White Walkers, they're white and they're cold in winter, but like that's
but ultimately they were inconsequential in the grand scheme of the series.
Yes,
and that's the problem I have with it.
Yeah, considering episode 1's opening scene is like, this shit ain't natural, and then it's just kind of like, all right.
Yeah, to me, they're supposed to be the ultimate big bads, or going to be at least in there in the very end. Well,
honestly, a lot of people really were mad about that the White Walkers weren't the final boss. Honestly, I was okay with that because I thought that really felt the theme. I really felt that fit the theme of the series, which is, and humans continue to be shitty to each other. Honestly, I was okay with that. My problem was that the White Walkers were dealt with way too quickly. I know the stakes were high, but it was over way too quickly.
All right. Well, fair enough. Without having to go into an entire episode of this, I'm not mad at the ending.
Yeah, I'm not mad. Probably my most frustration in the entire series was the second to last episode. The last one, like, okay, all right.
All right. Well, fair enough. I don't think the characters acted out of character, which is what everybody's complaining about. I don't think they did in the slightest.
I do, not completely, and like not in the slightest. It's just like I felt certain things were rushed.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. So, I know you saw this, and I'm going to be seeing it the day that this goes up on Tuesday.
Oh boy.
But goddamn, am I excited for John Wick 3?
Oh, that was fun. That was so much fun. It's John Wick. It's a John Wick movie. That's the summary. It's a John Wick movie.
Spoiled on this by just the general. I don't know anything that happens in it. Okay. Except that I know that there's going to be another one because it was just announced. So John Wick 4 was announced on Twitter today.
Well, now that Twitter has already said there's going to be a John Wick 4 in 2 years, yes, now that we know this, John Wick 3 very clearly sequel baits.
Okay.
There will be another one. Like, it's really obvious.
I hate that they did it so close to its opening. Because I would at least have some illusion that the character has
Is it over? No, it's
some
not,
form of danger. So, this is a trilogy, so it could have very well been the ending, but they're fully doing a full-blown franchise on this.
I will say the movie is way too much fun. Actually, there's one thing that cracked me up. There's one recurring like opponent character who is a serious badass, and he's like, you know, I'll be seeing you later, and then they finally have kind of a fight. He vanishes for a while, he comes back, like, remember me? We're still going. Like that kind of bad guy.
Sure.
He's a total badass.
He's like a nemesis, yeah.
And I, like, not through the whole movie, but he's more nemesis than other opponents. And I swear I've seen this guy's face before. I was like, where have I seen this guy? And he's been in a lot of movies, but almost none of which I've seen. There are only 2 places I think I've seen this guy before, and they're both amazing. One of them is, did you ever watch the YouTube series Mortal Kombat Legacy, like the sort of high quality fan made? Yeah. He's Kung Lao in like 3 episodes of that, and it's like, okay, cool. Maybe that's where I saw him. But the other thing, this is something I would never have believed. If you look really closely at his like facial structure, you can kind of see it. He's got like caved in cheekbones. He has distinctive like hard cheekbones. So if you look closely at his face from this other movie, you can kind of see it. But he's like totally bald, like head shaved in John Wick 3, and he's got like radical like hair hanging over the front of his head, like that cool like John Connor from Terminator 2 look in this other movie. Mm-hmm. He was Jimmy in the Double Dragon movie. It's like, what? Like, whoa, dude, cool. And he's like this badass fucking John Wick villain. It's like, wow.
Wait. So he was the Asian brother, right?
Yeah, it's like Mario and Luigi are like Cuban and British. So we have the Asian and like white like Double Dragon twins. Brothers. Twins.
Yeah. And
oh no, not Cuban, Puerto Rican, right? Like for Luigi, was it?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
John Leguizamo.
Yeah, John Leguizamo. Who, by the way, I did not see in John Wick 3.
And a Brit. It was a Brit and a Puerto Rican, yeah.
Yeah, an Englishman. Like,
yeah.
What?
But, I believe that guy has been the chairman of the USA Iron Chef series.
Yes, he was. That's something that should have been glaringly obvious, but I don't watch Iron Chef. So, like, I saw a couple of clips. It's like, and this week's special ingredient is. I'm like, holy shit, that's the guy! It's so weird.
Yeah, that's how I know him mostly.
Yeah, like it's like,
but I don't watch it every week or anything. But like,
but just imagine Iron Chef, and you see him like as a legitimately talented and vicious, like Wakizashi fighter in John Wick 3. It's like, yes.
Well, did he have his half of golden amulet with him? Like, I mean, come on.
Half of gold. That one's over my head. Oh, Double Dragon. Well, that was who was that? Robert Patrick?
Yeah, he was the bad. He was Kokoshuko.
Fucking weird. He was the Shadow Master.
The Shadow Master, yes.
God, that's bizarre. Robert Patrick. Okay.
Andy Dick was in that movie.
Man, what a weird. Okay.
And Alyssa Milano was Marion.
What the fuck? Movie's so weird.
You don't remember this at all, do you?
No, I saw a movie once in my life.
I'm pretty sure Linda Lash was somebody like a Playboy playmate or something like that too.
Unreal.
So, but I'm excited to see it. Me and my girlfriend love the John Wick movies. So the second one, you're like, where the fuck can this go? Like, there's no way they can make a movie out of this. And then, like, we hear the reviews are just like, shit, they did it.
Oh, for John Wick 3?
Yeah.
I mean, the movie's pretty much what you think it is. It's like, everybody wants a piece. It's like, oh no.
John Wick versus the world, huh?
Like the movie opens with him having to deal with this shit. It's great.
Oh boy, I can't wait.
Oh no, you cannot. It's so good. It's so good.
Nice.
And by the way, you'd think that after 2 entire movies of him kicking ass, they might be running out of like creative ways to horribly kill people. You would be wrong.
My favorite scene from the second one is actually when they're like taking pot shots at each other in the fucking mall.
Oh like, yeah, well they kind of have a humorous scene, sort of like that. I'm not gonna say what it is, but it's one of those like, all right, let's make this happen. It's like, yes.
That's great. All right, well, I wanted to move on and talk a little bit about M2 again. Not that I don't talk about them a lot, but they had a lot of news this week in particular. So first of all, being the hour-long documentary that My Life in Gaming produced with help of a friend of the show, Kurt Collada from Hardcore Gaming 101. And this... it's called M2 Complete Works, I believe, and this was a really great documentary. We had talked a little bit about the teaser trailer that they put out for it a little while ago. It's a great documentary. It has interviews from people from M2, including the owner of the company and all that. I mean, CEO of the company and all that. So really cool stuff. They talk about basically, just like, it says complete works, they talk about everything they've really ever done.
Yeah, it's so cool. I love comprehensive stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's very entertaining too, and you could tell the level of enthusiasm they have, and also the level of love that like everybody and respect everybody else in the industry has for them. So even like people from Digital Eclipse, which is probably their number one competitor, there were like 2 people from Digital Eclipse that actually interviewed saying how much they aspire to be them.
Oh, that's amazing.
Frank Cifaldi, who put together helped put together the SNK 40th Anniversary Collection and the Disney Afternoon Collection, Mega Man Legacy Collection, a lot of those collections. He was in it. He was just like,
nice.
A lot of the features that we put in the game and the level of quality we do to aspire to be to come up to them in terms of quality and craftsmanship. I would say that one of the best retro collections that isn't an M2 one would be that SNK collection. It's really freaking good.
Yeah.
I mean, it may not have like the perfect games on it, but like what is there is lavishly there. And it's just a love letter to everything that is there. So if you like museum pieces, it's perfect, and all of M2 games are just like that. They're like I always say this, but they're like the Criterion Collection versions of their respective games.
Well, now that there are 2 collections like that, one of them actually being Criterion, would you say they're Criteria?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, having said that, they had a bunch of announcements to go along with it, kind of like, I guess, because it was a hot time to announce this stuff. But they make the M2 Shot Triggers games, in which I went over last time. I went over 4 of them. They have a new one coming out called Esp Raid, which is a cave game. Like I said previously, they have former cave members and Taito members and also treasure members on that team.
That's quite a team.
Yeah, they have like basically they're like the superstar of old games, like coming together and making sure that these old games are even better than they ever were. They announced that not only is S-Braid coming out to a console for the first time, but this had been known. It was coming out for PS4, but it will be physical, which is cool. Because not all of these M2 Shot Triggers games are. And it's also coming out for Switch, which nobody expected, which is really, really awesome. I should also mention that this is a predecessor to a much better known cave game called Espgaluda and Espgaluda 2. Espgaluda 2 in particular was a region-free cave shmup on the Xbox 360, so a lot of shmup fans imported that back in the day. So it'll be really great to get the first one in that lineage, which will be really cool. And M2 is also, as announced before, is working on the Genesis and Mega Drive Mini.
Yes.
There was a heck of an announcement on the next 10 games, and I'm going to go over these. So for the American ones, there's some awesome games here. You have Mega Man Wily Wars, which is
that's
rare...
ridiculous.
Yeah,
that was never released in America.
Yeah, until the Virtual Console. But
Yeah, not to
yeah,
mention like just even the concept, like Mega Man on the Genesis.
yeah. I will add that it is neat that it exists. It's what it is it's like a remake of Mega Man 1 through 3.
Yeah, it's like a best of sort of.
It's like a best of, and it also has like some extra stuff put in there as well. And with 16-bit graphics and all that, it looks good. It does not play as tight as the NES version, so I
Yeah.
do not recommend it except for
The
curiosity.
novelty.
It's not a bad game. It's just not the best way to play these games. Let's just put it that way. But awesome that it's on there. Which is it's really neat. Street Fighter 2 Special Champion Edition. This is a little bit of an odd choice. So this is a version of Street Fighter 2 that was exclusive to the Genesis. It's supposed to be very similar to Championship Edition, obviously. So you could play as the bosses, but what's also weird about this is that the system does not come with a 6-button controller, which is basically mandatory. The way that you have to play this with a 3-button controller is you hit start to switch between kicks and punches. That's stupid and terrible.
Oh, that's weird, because I remember, like, I used to play Mortal Kombat with a 3-button controller, and I think start was useless.
Start was block.
Oh, start was block? No,
Yes.
are you sure about that? I thought it was B. No, you know what? It was, because I'm pretty sure B was block, A was low punch, C was low kick, A and B was high punch, B and C was high kick. So I think start was useless, because in Mortal Kombat 3, start was the run button.
Okay, fair enough. Well, fair enough. The whole point is the 6-button controller was invented for this game, for the system.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And it wouldn't be a fixture on the system without it. The Japanese version of this Mega Drive Mini is coming with the 6-button controllers.
Yeah, I don't get it. I really hope this isn't some cheap excuse. Like, this, I'm just worried this is going to happen. Do you remember how the NES Classic, the controllers it came with, had pretty short cords?
Cords, yeah.
But that's okay, because they sold you extension cords, even though original NES controllers had really long cords. And it's just like,
I'm glad you brought this up,
like,
Lotus.
what a douchebag move, because, like, I'm just waiting for them to sell us 6-button controllers, and it's like, oh, fuck you.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's exactly what they're doing.
Ugh, that's so scummy.
They linked to Retrobit, who is selling Genesis 6-button USB controllers that will work on it. So
what kills me, though, is, like, the internet has existed for quite some time. Do they really think no one's going to figure this out?
They don't care.
Yeah. It's just, like, it just makes me think, like, this is, again, a weird thing to bring up, but the Resident Evil remake in HD, there's a bunch of extra costumes you can buy, and in the Japanese version, I think that DLC was just, like, free. It was either that or it was one pack where America had multiple smaller packs, and it's just like, get the fuck out of here.
Either way, the next few games are amazing. So, Ghouls and Ghosts, which is my favorite version of Ghouls and Ghosts, great version of this
That is
of the second
game.
Ghosts and Goblins game. Really, really great. The
my
Genesis
first...
version is my favorite.
Yeah, that was my first experience with the series, and I remember.
And we played it at my house.
Yeah, and I later played it at my house as well. When I first played it, though, it was a friend's copy when we were in middle school, and, like, we were not prepared for this game, so we just used invincibility codes with a Game Genie or something.
Sure.
But I remember seeing the final boss for the first time. It's just this big red Satan-looking guy. It's like, whoa!
Funny that his name is basically Satan.
Yeah, isn't his name, like, actually just straight up Satan or, like, Lucifer or something?
One of them's Satan, one of them's Lucifer, one of them's Beelzebub.
Yeah,
I mean,
like, in the American release, they call him Loki, but, like, you're not fooling anybody.
No, he's just straight up the devil.
Yeah, like, obviously.
But this is a great addition. I would go as far as to say that all the best Capcom games on the system are there. You could make a case for the Punisher, but I don't expect that one to be on there. And that number one and number two, that port isn't the best port, so I don't care. Alex Kidd in the Enchanted Castle is a pretty bad Alex Kidd game. You could skip that.
Here's a fun fact, by the way, because, I mean, Vice, I know you know this, but a lot of people may not. Sonic the Hedgehog is pretty much Sega's mascot, but Alex Kidd was going to be the mascot.
Yeah. And so was Opa Opa from
Fantasy Zone.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. But yeah, Alex Kidd, they were pushing it. They had a whole bunch of Alex Kidd games, I think even on the Master System. And then, like, nah, man, Sonic with his attitude just steamrolled everybody.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that his, like, you know, flagship title on the 16-bit console that was supposed to be, like, a really good sequel. Like, all of the other Alex Kidd games other than the first one on Master System were kind of spin-off games. Mm-hmm. This was supposed to be, like, the first legitimate, like, sequel, and it wasn't good.
Well, I never actually played these games, so
yeah.
I may or may not be right about this. Was Alex Kidd the game where you beat bosses with rock, paper, scissors?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, charming. The first one's very charming. This is not the one you want. So, Beyond Oasis is a great kind of Zelda-ish game made by Ancient, Yuzo Koshiro's company.
Nice.
It also has great Yuzo Koshiro music, so go ahead and play it.
Also nice.
The Genesis version of Golden Axe, which is a good version of Golden Axe, not incredibly perfect arcade.
Yeah, the arcade version obviously has better presentation, but the Genesis version has 2 more levels. I mean, one of the levels is just the final boss fight, but yeah, 2 more levels. Also, I should point out that the Genesis version of Golden Axe does the same thing that the Genesis version of Altered Beast does. Like, when you beat Altered Beast in the arcade, it has like a joke ending, like like everyone takes off their monster costumes. Yeah. It was a play the whole time, and in Golden Axe, the characters just jump out of the arcade machine and run down urban Japan. It's like, what? But in Genesis Altered Beast, it's like you defeated the evil Neff and you saved the kingdom. Yeah, they play it totally straight. So Golden Axe is also played straight.
Yeah. So that's a good game. I'm not gonna poo-poo at that.
It's a great game. Yeah, I played the hell out of that game.
Phantasy Star 4, which is the best RPG on the system and one of the best RPGs of all time.
Yeah, I heard that was... I've never played the Phantasy Star games, but I have heard great things. And actually, speaking of Kurt Collada a while back, he recently finished putting up a Hardcore Gaming 101 retrospective of Phantasy Star 1 through 4. And, he loves 4.
text adventure games that were afterwards, like the spin-off stuff, which is pretty cool. But this is the best game in the series as well. Highly worth it. Great looking, great sounding, great playing game. Really great RPG. One of the best ever made.
It's easy to forget this because Final Fantasy is kind of like the definitive RPG, but like, I mean, Phantasy Star wasn't on Final Fantasy's level, but it was kind of the closest thing you had to a rival of Final Fantasy at the time.
Well, Dragon Quest. Dragon Quest was number 1.
Yeah, but I mean, regarding though, well, I mean, yeah, I guess it's not made by Square. No, Dragon Quest was made by Square. So like,
not at the time. It was made by Enix.
Okay, fair enough. So I guess it's a 3-way battle then.
No, you forget they didn't merge with Goya yet.
Yeah, Goya was waiting in the wings.
But yeah, seriously, this is there were 3 tentpole RPG series back in the day, and they were Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy, and Phantasy Star. These games are probably criminally underlooked by RPG fans because a lot of them were Nintendo players. So
yeah,
this would be a good opportunity, and
not only that, but Sega really wasn't much of an RPG system. Like, it had Phantasy Star and
Shining games.
They had the Shining games, but like
that was it.
That was about it. I can't really think
Fatal
of
Labyrinth, which was a roguelike.
Yeah, there was some stuff, but Nintendo was like Final Fantasy 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6. Like, it was just pumping them out.
These were the major ones.
And Dragon Quest went up to like, what, 5 or 6 as well before they moved on to PlayStation?
So, yes, there were 6 of them in the 8-bit and 16-bit era.
Yeah, because like, I forgot when PlayStation got going. I know 8 was on PS2. So I guess
7 was on PlayStation 1.
Okay.
And then 1 through 4 were NES or Famicom, and then 5 and 6 were Super Nintendo.
When did they start being called Dragon Quest? Because like at least the first game, maybe the second, were Dragon Warrior.
7.
Oh,
7 was...
all 6 really? Oh, I didn't realize.
Well, Dragon Warrior. It was only 1 through 4 were released. 5 and 6 were never brought over to the United States. Yeah.
Also, one of the games had a nod to Zelda, where there's like a grave of like Link or something. It's like, what?
Final Fantasy actually has that.
Oh, really? It's just like it's just like in Duke Nukem 3D, where you find a dead Doom Space Marine. You're like, oh well, and you just keep walking.
or like a dead Commander Keen is probably my favorite.
Oh, in Doom.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but that was id to id. Like Duke Nukem was like 3D realms, and there's just a dead Doom Space Marine.
There's a lot of DNA in that, though. I mean, like Duke Nukem, wouldn't exist without Doom.
Well, that's true, but Duke Nukem also had like Lara Croft and Indiana Jones and like the T-800. Like, what is this?
Well, let's move on here. Sonic the Hedgehog Spinball, which is kind of divisive. It has probably the worst music track on the Genesis in it, which is the options menu.
Yeah, no, I will say though, Sonic Spinball, there are like, I mean, people talk about the Genesis sound card in general, but like some games really, really push to like that.
Yeah, Sonic Spinball is the worst example.
Like Road Rash, like you thought Road Rash was the worst, but you never played Sonic Spinball, man.
Nope.
That is
go to that options menu.
That is a gritty. Well, the thing is, a lot of the rest of the soundtrack is actually quite good, but like that options menu is like what? Although you got to see the first Robotnik boss. He's actually genuinely creepy looking. He's like a scorpion, and he's got a creepy fucking face. You're gonna knock out his teeth.
I remember it.
No, you don't. No, you knock out his teeth in a bonus round, but he's still creepy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I love Sonic and I love Pinball, but this is not a good representation of either of them. But it's an okay game.
Yeah, it is the grittiest Genesis soundtrack you ever heard. Like by a lot. The opposite spectrum of quality soundtracks. Vector Man. It has probably the second best soundtrack on the entire. Vector Man's soundtrack is unbelievable.
It's way almost as good as Streets of Rage 2. Almost.
Yeah, and people talk badly about Vector Man 2, the game, but its soundtrack is also really good.
Yeah, I love the soundtrack, and I love the first game.
Vector Man Level 1 and Level 3, those tracks just kill. It's so good.
Yeah, no, the whole thing is quite good, and I love this game. It's a great game.
And you do the Nixon, I am not a crook pose when you beat a level. What the hell is that?
Yeah, I love it. Wonder Boy Monster World, which is another good adventure game. It's a part of the Wonder Boy series, which a lot of people shouldn't be familiar with at this point. Especially with really the newer entries in the series.
The newer, like, recently. What was it, like PS4 releases?
Monster Boy was the newest one, but there was also the remake of Wonder Boy in
Monster World,
Dragon's Trap.
Dragon's Trap, that's the one.
Yeah. So all three of these games are good. They're great. I would be very surprised. This hasn't been announced, but I'd be very surprised if Monster World 4 did not get on here, because it was M2 that did the translation, the English translation of that to begin with.
Yeah, and that was finally, well, that was localized back on like the
last generation.
Yeah, it was PS3 and 360.
Last generation, so it was on the Wii, the 360 and PS3.
Okay, didn't know it hit the Wii as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that is, by the way, that is a quality looking Genesis game. Like the animation is gorgeous.
Great game. So, having said that, there is a whole different selection of Mega Drive games on the Japanese version. Most of them are the same, but there are a couple that aren't. So, Revenge of Shinobi is going to be on that one.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised. Well, then again, I was about to say I'm a little surprised it wasn't announced for the American release, but then again, one of the Sonic games was announced for Japan, but not America. But then in the
It'll
next
be on there.
wave, that game was announced. So like, maybe it's coming.
It'll be on there. Revenge of Shinobi is one of the most popular Genesis titles. Plus, Shinobi 3 was already announced. So
Shinobi 3, I know I keep saying this, but Shinobi 3 is like that. It's so good, and that soundtrack is brilliant.
I love it up until the maze at the end of the game.
That maze is relentless. That maze is straight brutal.
Yeah,
I only ever beat that game once, and I was on like very easy.
But here's a funny tidbit. So you know how in the original Shinobi, Revenge Shinobi has been censored many times because of its parodic nature. You know, it has straight up like Rambo, the Terminator,
like Batman,
the Hulk, Batman, Spider-Man, and Godzilla in it. Like straight up, all of them are in it. I mean, it's meant to be funny, I think, but they were in the original version.
Yeah.
Not only that, but the title screen has like a digitized version of Sonny Chiba's eyes. Like they straight up digitized a picture of his eyes.
That's crazy.
Put it in it. So his actual eyes are in it. So they have to take it out because that was found out.
Yeah.
Sonny Chiba, of course, is a famous Japanese martial arts movie actor from the 70s.
Yeah.
And he was also in the Kill Bill movies.
Which one was he?
Great. He's Hanzo, I believe.
Nice.
Yeah, he's Hattori Hanzo. But the thing is, what was cool thing that they revealed in that Complete Works thing is that M2 said that the CEO took his picture and put his eyes in it, which is awesome.
Nice.
It's a happy ending because if you know that, it's funny.
Yeah.
The other game is Puzzle and Action Tant R. I do not blame them for not bringing that one over.
Yeah.
Party Quiz Mega Q, which is not... I think these are both spin-offs of the Bonanza Brothers that never came out in the United States. I have no love or loss for those. But here's the big one. Yu Hakusho.
That's actually exciting.
Toitsutsen. So what this game is actually very important, and it's really amazing that they put it on there. So this is a treasure title. It's not your run-of-the-mill licensed title.
Made a Yu Yu Hakusho game?
Yes. So everybody's favorite 16-bit developer, or at least mine, Treasure, made this game. It is a fighting game, but here's the twist. It is a 4-player at-once fighting game.
Wow.
It's like a 2-player fighting game, like Fatal Fury.
Yeah.
But with Yu Yu Hakusho characters.
That's sweet.
It's really, really fun. You used to have to get I believe a multi-tap to play that.
Yeah, team player.
Which was pretty cool. This game was a big cult hit in Japan. It never came out in the United States, unfortunately, and it's very rare now.
Yu Yu Hakusho itself didn't come out in the United States, like the anime, until like the PS2 era.
Now, here's the thing. I think this marks every single Treasure game for the Genesis is on there besides McDonald's Treasure Island.
And by the way, even that is a good game.
Yes.
Like, I played it with you and we beat it, and the game is legitimately good. I mean, it's clearly for kids, but it's legitimately good.
Who the fuck invited the Hamburglar?
That was the best.
We're talking about when the Hamburglar stows away on your ship.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is a great game. What is cool, though, is that we got its successors, which are Treasure made 2 Bleach games on the original DS that have the same style gameplay. The same two-on-two fighter, 2-plane style gameplay, and they're both very good. So that's a lot of fun. Pick those up, but I may even just get the Japanese Mega Drive Mini here because it's appealing to my interests.
And you want to pay extra for a fucking 6-button controller.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I think they said that it is like if you put a USB hub on the Mega Drive Mini, you could play it 4-player.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. So really cool stuff. This is even with the minor complaint of the controller issue. Also, like if you really want to play Street Fighter, you can find other ways to do it easily.
Yeah, that's the like. Wow, how am I gonna play Street Fighter?
Yeah, all niggling complaints aside, this is the best and most full-featured of these classic systems I've seen. It's better than the Nintendo ones. I'm just gonna go outright and say, even with this current list,
I will say the Super Nintendo Classics lineup is way up there.
It's really
they have some damn good games on there. But the Sega one is really intriguing. I mean, they have really Earthbound, they have Mario RPG. Like that alone is like
Final Fantasy VI. Yeah, I forgot about that.
That's it. That we're good. The only thing they're missing in that collection that would have made
Chrono Trigger.
Yep, definitive.
Yeah.
But but the Sega collection though, that is both versions are really really enticing.
What I'm trying to say here though is that this is this kind of thing done absolutely right.
Yes.
From the standpoint of who is making it, how accurate it's going to be, what the features are going to be, and what games are on it. The only game that I'm and there are only a couple games that are sorely missing, and I would say it's going to be Sonic 3, and Streets of Rage 3. I think hasn't been announced yet.
No, I know they announced a Shining game. Did they announce both Shining Forces 1 and 2?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, but even without these games, it's still really freaking fantastic.
Well, the thing with Streets of Rage 3 though is like, you don't want Streets of Rage 3. You want Bare Knuckle 3. Yeah, like only the Japanese version would be like playable. The American Streets of Rage 3 is like bullshit difficult. Like I used level select codes and I still couldn't beat the game.
Yeah, no, you're right. But
Bare Knuckle though, it felt like I was playing Streets of Rage 2 again. I'm like, all right.
But I think this is real solid. Yes. Even though I have all of these games and I own them physically, I still kind of want this. It's really cool. And it's a great thing if you don't have all these things already. Let's see here. Another M2 product just was released on Thursday, the Castlevania collection.
Yes.
I am going to straight up come out and say that this is an A+ collection. I played it, and it's great. It is not perfect, but it is really amazing. It is low on its extra options. I'll just say that. But everything that you do get is amazing. So this is made by M2. So the emulation quality on all of these different systems is top-notch. So you have the NES, the Super Nintendo, and the Game Boy are all emulated perfectly here, as perfectly as can be possible. They have archival material in here, and they have the Kid Dracula, which is in English for the first time, which is great.
Nice.
They also, Konami confirmed that this will have an update very soon that will include the Japanese versions of all these games.
Oh, cool.
So not only will you get the American versions of all of these games, you will get the Japanese ones, which for Castlevania 3 in particular...
I was just going to mention, does that come with the Japanese soundtrack?
It will once that gets added.
Brilliant.
So what's really funny is that the menu music is the Japanese Castlevania 3's, and it's not there yet.
Yeah, it's kind of silly.
Which is kind of funny. But they listened, and M2 was like, okay, we'll put them in. So
I mean, why not, right?
Yeah, Castlevania 4 also has some minor censorship. I think Castlevania 1 might have some minor censorship too. So those will be things will be rectified with those if you care there. Personally, I think the Castlevania 1 and 2 soundtracks sound better on the NES, rather than the Famicom disc versions from Japan.
I absolutely agree.
But the Castlevania 3 absolutely sounds better in the Japanese version.
Yeah.
Um, Everything else is great. There's even a really cool dot matrix mode for the Game Boy games, the two Game Boy games that's on there, to kind of pixelate it even more, to
Oh,
make it
nice.
kind of look like it's in a screen door,
That's kind of
kind of,
cool.
which is really neat. Um, I These are my favorite games on these old systems, and they put every single console Castlevania game all in one place for this era, which is really great. They don't have Castlevania Legends, but that's not a great game, and it came out like pretty well after.
Why
I
don't they
think
have
Castlevania
Castlevania
2.
Judgment?
Yeah, no. They would have to ask Light Yagami for it. But anyway,
Yeah.
I love this collection. I'm a huge Castlevania fan. Was not disappointed, especially if you buy the Switch version. You can play it on the go, but it is out for everything else that you could think of. It's for Steam, Xbox, and PlayStation, so as well. So definitely pick that up if you have any interest in all some of the best games of that era. Strikers 2020 was announced. That's actually the end of my my M2 stuff, but quite a bit of stuff.
Yeah.
Strikers 2020 was announced, which is really neat. I've been talking about the Strikers games for a while now. The Strikers 1945, the one that I played at Con Bravo.
Mm-hmm.
They announced a new game in the series, which is awesome because the company that had been putting out the Switch ports of all of these Sikio games had been purchased by City Connection, and now they have a budget, so they're making new games. It's really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Unexpected too. Also unexpected. They announced that another company announced that they are going to be releasing a new Cotton game.
Yeah, that's really unexpected.
Awesome. Yeah.
Remember
Cotton,
the TurboGrafx game, Cotton?
Yeah, Cotton is an obscure shmup series that shmup fans like.
Yeah, you're a witch on a broomstick.
Yeah, a witch on a broomstick. Every single one of the games is rare and expensive, and none of them were ever brought to America. So it's kind of cool for PS4 and Switch and PC, which is awesome. Let's see here. Skies of Arcadia, vinyl and music box and CD was just announced and put up for sale.
About that.
Which is really cool. I thought the music box in particular was really neat.
Mm-hmm.
I will probably be buying the vinyl.
Yeah, I'm gonna get the CD.
Yeah, really cool stuff.
And I think it also comes with like a piano collection, like on vinyl or disc as well.
Neat. I am, as you could tell by my handle, vysethebold, I'm a huge Skies of Arcadia fan. The music in the game is fantastic. So, definitely going to be part of my video game vinyl catalog for sure. Just a couple little announcements before we wrap things up. There was a Nintendo Direct. We usually go over these, but it was for one particular game. It was for Mario Maker 2, and looks like they are adding a ton of features to this game.
This is not just the Wii U game again.
Yeah, no, it is the old game and tons more, and the old game was very fully featured.
Yeah.
This game even has a story mode, which is really cool.
That's crazy. And doesn't it also have like online co-op?
It has online co-op. It has over 100 levels that were already created by in-house people, like on the disc. You can expect game developers to come up with their own levels as well, like they did with the first one.
Yeah.
I am very excited for this. There was a really cool night mode. I don't know if you saw that.
No.
But night mode basically makes the levels even harder. So they go from regular levels are in day mode.
Yeah.
If they go into night mode, they're basically just like nightmare.
Oh man.
So if you have like a level that has like water on the bottom, the water's now poisonous.
Okay, like the lava, you can't touch it.
Exactly. Really cool stuff. I am really looking forward to it. I'm not much of a creator, but I do like to play other people's stuff, so I'm absolutely all about this. Um, here's a big thing. So that game YIIK or Y2K, I think it's Y2K.
Yeah, Y one
IIK.
one. Yeah, YIIK Y2K.
Yeah, it's Y2K.
Yeah.
Um,
A
so
postmodern RPG.
we complained about this guy being full of shit before with that postmodern modern RPG thing. We talked about this before, and a lot of people were just complaining about like how far up its own asset was. Well, they found like entire like blocks of text that were ripped straight out of a Japanese author's book. Just like straight word for word. It's insane.
Once again, I know I just said this episode, but like the internet's been around. Like nobody was gonna make this connection. It took a little while, but someone's gonna find out.
You honestly think nobody's gonna sue you over this, or want you to take the game down? Like honestly, like you could have you could have even paraphrased it, and nobody would have. Maybe somebody might have noticed that, but people would still debate about it, right?
Yeah, probably.
And you probably couldn't litigate on it successfully. But just straight up word for word, like what are you doing?
That's such like an amateur, like didn't work on his homework assignment until the last minute school child thing to do.
And the attitude on top of it, like you think you're so smart that you came up with this game and you're just straight up copying somebody else's work and selling it as your own.
Yeah.
Like what the fuck is wrong with you? I don't know. I didn't want this game to begin with, especially after all the backlash. But hearing this, it's just like Jesus. Like this is like at least you could have made an argument, to me maybe in the future. But now you can't.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. And moving on to one last one. This is actually just something pretty cool. Also on Thursday on the Switch, 2 Guilty Gear games were released, and they were classic ones. So the original Guilty Gear.
Yeah, that's amazing by itself. Like we've never seen that game since the PS1.
Yeah, really cool stuff. It has Dr. whatever his name is.
Yeah, Dr. Baldhead, the guy who would become Faust.
Yeah.
So he's like evil and creepy in the first game, despite how goofy he looks in like every single other game.
And the other game is Guilty Gear X2 Accent Core Plus R, which is the last of the Guilty Gear X2.
Yeah, that was games. Like the PlayStation 2 like final release, I guess.
No, that was
Accent Core Plus, right?
That was Accent Core Plus. This is the Plus R version.
All right, even better.
Yeah. So this has every character up until this point, and like all the modes you'd ever want and all that stuff. Online multiplayer. The original game has a really cool pixel perfect presentation, and it's also just a really cool a museum piece. I like playing this series a lot. I'm not really good at it, but I love the music. I love the aesthetic.
It's always about the music.
It's a lot of fun. I would recommend definitely at least picking up Accent Core Plus R, because that is one of the best fighting games ever made. Really a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, the first game really does feel different from the later ones. Even
it's not as fast.
And also Axel just looks very different from his future like overly British presentation.
Yeah, it definitely has that like sketchy look. Like the art isn't as refined.
Yeah.
If you ask me, but it's still really cool, and especially since most of the fans came on when Sharp Reload came out, I would say. Sharp Reload was really the big revelation when the series got popular. Mm-hmm. On the PS2. If you want to go back and see the original, this is a good time to do so on a system that where it'll be good to do so. So, yeah, and that's really the show for this week, unless you had anything else, Lotus, here.
No, I think that's pretty much all I have.
Okay, yeah, you don't want to talk about Y2K anymore?
Not particularly.
Yeah, let's scrub that from the record, right? All right. Well, that is the show for this week. We want to. Oh God, where is my script? Okay. Please remember to subscribe to the Corrective Consciousness YouTube and SoundCloud pages. While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. Helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You can also catch us on Thursday for our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, the podcast where we explore the inanity of pop culture. We have a really nice... I will tease this. There was some bad news about Nippon Ichi, which I will not go into right now. We will go into it more on Thursday, but I wanted to have a whole show on that, so it's a little bit of a tease. So you could catch us on Thursday for that. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on Steam, PSN, Xbox Live, Twitter, Switch, and Battle.net.
And you can follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, like Alien Isolation, which is going to go public soon, or get involved in conversations with me and other patrons on Discord, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/lotusprince.
And you could also catch Old Man Stompy and Pyro, Jack Frost, wherever they are on the internet.
Pretty much. That's usually how they sign off anyway.
All right, everybody. Well, this was a great week. We look forward to seeing you on Thursday to talk about a beloved company in trouble here. But we will catch you then.
Until next time, everyone.